Can you keep both eyes open at 1x power with the Vortex Strike Eagle rifle scope? And is the FFP reticle too small to see in the lower powers? Hi, I'm Tina from Target Tamers, and we purchased the Vortex Strike Eagle 1:8x24 FFP rifle scope to answer these questions and more. To start with, the Strike Eagle 1:8 is an LPVO, low power variable optic, sort of a married combo between magnified optics and red dot sights. They share key features such as a bulky and heavy build, an illuminated reticle in some form or fashion, and the ability to keep both eyes open at 1x power for close quarter use and for rapid target acquisition. So the Strike Eagle essentially has it all. What are the specs? The Strike Eagle has 1 to 8 times magnification, a 24mm objective lens diameter, 3.9 inches of eye relief, 113.6 to 14.1 feet field of view, 30mm tube, fixed parallax at 125 yards, a 10.4 inch length without the sunshade, 24 ounce weight, and it's made in China. It has capped quarter MOA turrets that are resettable to 0, 9 illumination settings, 2 separate settings that are night vision compatible, and it's powered via a single CR2032 battery. The Strike Eagle scope comes protected inside form-fitted foam inserts with neatly packaged accessories. That includes a product manual, reticle manual, warranty and other miscellaneous documentation, lens cloth, battery, flip-up caps, throw lever, sunshade, and a multi-tool. To be clear, everything is finger adjustable, but the tool loosens and tightens the battery cap, installs the throw lever on the power ring, and it removes the turret caps for re-indexing the 0. Glass quality. First off, for the amount of money that the Strike Eagle costs, it's surprising that Vortex didn't give it some upgraded glass treatments such as the XD lens elements, ED glass, and the XR FMC coatings. Even so, I was pleasantly surprised that the optical quality is still very, very good. It remained clear and sharp from the center to the edges of the field of view, right up to around 7 times magnification. I did make out some minor chromatic aberration, but nothing significant enough to be distracting. There is a small amount of light loss at max magnification, but contrast and resolution remained true, and it still performed really well at max magnification in low light conditions. Build quality. Now, the Strike Eagle feels really well built. It has a single piece tube made from aircraft grade aluminum and is finished with a low glare matte black anodized finish, which is held up really well to a lot of accidental scratching between being mounted and remounted, used with a cantilever mount, steel ring mounts, and ring visors, which are used for tripod mounting. Now, it weighs 24 ounces, which is definitely heavy for a traditional conventional 1 to 8 times scope, but it's in the medium top end range for an LPVO. Now, it comes with a sunshade that threads onto the objective belt, and I think if you have a sunshade, then you should use it. Not only does it reduce glare and reflections, but it looks sexy on there, and it protects the lens from people like me who are always unintentionally touching the lenses. Now, the Strike Eagle is both waterproof and fog-proof, having been O-ring sealed and nitrogen purged. Vortex says that it's still waterproof even with the turret caps off, so I took them off, left the illumination on, submerged it for 30 minutes, and so far so good. Now, I was really excited about the flip-up caps because I love flip-up caps. Unfortunately, these are just okay. They have a tendency to want to completely come off when I flip them open. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, it is annoying. Reticle. So the EBR-8 reticle is new, and it's a BDC MOA reticle in the first focal plane, FFP. So this means that the reticle changes size as you manipulate magnification. Nothing actually grows and shrinks, it's just that changing magnification makes it seem that way, but subtension is always the same. This means that you can accurately use the BDC portion of the reticle at any magnification, well, as long as you can see it, right? So this brings up the usual concern of, is the reticle too small to effectively use in the lower powers? While the reticle as a whole, yes, it does get small. So since this is a higher powered 1 to 8 times LPVO, the reticle being in the first focal plane is actually well suited to this configuration. Yes, the BDC portion of the reticle does effectively seem to disappear at 1 times and 2 times magnification, but when illuminated, the dot and the ring essentially act like a red dot sight, and the field of view is free of clutter for rapid target acquisition and use in close quarter engagements. Now, to stretch that effective range, crank up the magnification, and that BDC portion becomes easier to see and is well suited to those long range shots. So the EBR-8 reticle has a small 0.75 MOA center dot and is encircled by a 12 MOA ring. It's fast to use and definitely draws the eye. The BDC vertical stadia has drop effective for approximately 600 yards for the 223-556 and 308-762 loads. Extending across the windage portion, dots are calibrated for 5 mph winds. There is a stadiometric rangefinder scale above the reticle that allows you to basically range a target of known size. It's visible as the main reticle is, but I'm not typically one to use it. If I have time to sit and range a target with it, I probably have time to use my laser rangefinder. Illumination. So the Illumination turret houses the CR2032 battery. There are 9 intensity settings and a 0 for off and 2 separate night vision settings. It is worth mentioning that you can go forwards and backwards with this turret. So you can go from 0 to full brightness level 9 or 0 and then start your way out from night vision 1, night vision 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 9. Now there aren't any intermittent off positions per se, but the illumination does turn off when you move to the next brightness setting, so you have to be pretty deliberate about putting it into its position to make sure that the illumination stays on. Now the most noticeable illuminated portions are the center dot and ring in outdoor conditions and in daylight. In dark conditions you will actually see that the entire reticle is somewhat illuminated. I hardly needed to use illumination because the black crosshairs and dots are highly visible given that they're glass etched. The crosshair posts in the 9, 3 and 6 o'clock positions are very bold and get your eye on the center quickly. The times I turned on illumination were in low light conditions where settings 2 and 3 were perfect, about 20 minutes after sunset. Illumination also helped in very dark and black targets and in busy terrains like timber or mountain brush and scrub. Magnification. So the 1 to 8 times power is on the high end for an LPVO, and everyone wants to know if you can use it for true 1 times benefits at 1 times power. And the Strike Eagle 1 to 8 actually does a pretty stand-up job in this department. Yes, you can use the Strike Eagle 1 to 8 with both eyes open at 1 times power. Now some people may complain about like they're looking through a fishbowl or losing focus, and that has not been my experience, and let me tell you why. You can achieve a very flat field of view at 1 times with both eyes open without that fisheye lens effect, and the trick is to use the fast focus eyepiece. Now it is target dependent, so you will want to focus on a target say 25 yards away and move that eyepiece until you get a flat, natural looking field of view through that sight picture. Now what happens to the focus when you crank up to 8 times power? Well, it does become slightly unfocused at 8 times, but at 7 times it's tack sharp. The eye box at 8 times magnification is a little finicky, but I didn't creep the stock on any of the rifles that I tested it with. Proper mounting and a consistent cheek weld made sure that I came back to a full sight picture free of vignetting every single time. The Strike Eagle comes with a throw lever and I love it. It's not a thread-in to the power ring, but is a screw-in tension band type system. The multi-tool will loosen the screw that allows you to slip the lever over the power ring for wherever you think it's best to position it. I placed it right behind the numbers. When the lever is at the 9 o'clock position, it's at 1 times power. At the 12 o'clock position, it's at 3 times power. And at the 2 o'clock position, it's at max 8 times power. I like this setup because when I mounted the Strike Eagle to my elk hunting rifle, the lever is perfectly out of the way of the action. Even after all the remounting and rounds put through the scope, the throw lever screw has not come loose. The lever is tall enough and easy to grab, but throwing it is not really the case because the power ring is quite stiff, making it a little bit slow. The Strike Eagle has a 30mm tube, so you'll need 30mm rings. We ordered the Vortex Sport cantilever mount with a 3-inch offset, and I had some Warren Maxima 30mm medium height rings laying around. The cantilever mount went on the AR, and the rings went on the Smith & Wesson 270. Bases were torqued to 25 inch pounds, and the scope rings were torqued between 15 to 18 inch pounds. The cantilever mount wouldn't fit the rail on my 270, so rings were a must-have. You don't need to run backup iron sights. If the illumination ever fails you, you can still see the glass etched reticle very clearly and very boldly. Range performance. So I shot the Strike Eagle with 2 different rifles, starting with my AR with 5.56 loads out to 100 yards. It's fast and effective with or without illumination. I got groups as tight as about that as I could get with my gas gun and just okay ammo. At 200 yards, I got in the black, but I think my rifle was underperforming for what the scope was able to do for me. So this is what happened after the range session. So we tend to think of LPVOs as a standard optic straight away for modern sporting rifles, semi-automatic rifles. I don't see why the Strike Eagle wouldn't be a good fit for a hunting bolt action rifle. I put mine on the Smith & Wesson 270, my elk hunting rifle, and it was amazing. I took shoot and see repair pasters and aimed for them just for fun. Okay, so the turnaround time with the 270 versus an AR-15 is slower, considering that the Strike Eagle is made for speed. Maybe it's not the best pairing in the world with my hunting gun, but when it came for those longer range shots beyond 100 yards, it was a champ. I used the Strelok Pro app for my drop values. I had 13 mile per hour wind speeds, held over for that, and used the BDC reticle to hold over for 200 yards and was pretty much right where I needed to be. With all of that bore sighting and dialing in for 50 yards, then 100, switching to a different rifle and starting again, there was plenty of turret action. I couldn't hear the clicks with ears on, but I could feel them. I gave more visual attention to my adjustments, and I usually always shoot with gloves on, and I didn't have any issues feeling the clicks or dialing in general. Turrets are extremely precise and track true. There's no second guessing where that point of impact should be after you've made an adjustment. It's accurate, and it made sighting in feel like child's play. Is the Vortex Strike Eagle 1-8x24 FFP rifle scope target Tamers approved. So I put the Strike Eagle into the mid-range market. It's not decorated with the most features, but it definitely has fundamental quality. It has pretty basic glass performance, but it has mechanical and tracking performance that is solid and sound. Now, with a little bit of know-how, you can effectively use that 1x magnification with both eyes open for those red dot-like benefits. So I would rate this as a beginner optic for duty use, defensive, SHTF engagements, and competition. More mid-range use for recreational and hunting purposes. With that in mind, I think if you are specifically after an LPVO with the MOA BDC reticle in the first focal plane and something with the versatility and potential to take you from a point-blank range out to those possibly longer shots at 500-600 yards, then the FFP Strike Eagle is definitely for you.